Farm Food and Fun with Farmer Larry and Miss Lynn.
Hi, today we're on the farm and we are cooking up these beautiful apples and these wonderful pumpkins to make some fabulous fall food. So today on the farm, making fabulous fall food, having fun.
Farm Food and Fun with Farmer Larry and Miss Lynn. And today we're talking apples and pumpkins.
Two of my most favorite fall foods. Apples and pumpkins represent fall to us, right?
That's right.
Did you know there's 7,500 different types of apples in this world?
I had no idea.
I know, and they've been around for thousands of years. They first were found in China, and then they came over years. They came to the United States by who?
The Pilgrims.
The Pilgrims. The colonists brought them over, which was really important. But there's so many different types of apples, you have to learn which one goes with which. And pumpkins, forget. Look, tiny ones, big ones, but pumpkins don't grow on trees.
No, they grow on vines on the ground.
So the vine runs along the ground. First it flowers, and that flower turns into a pumpkin. Did you know that pumpkin flowers are edible?
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so what you can do is not only can you eat the insides, roast the seeds, but you can eat the flowers. The first jack-o'-lantern was not a pumpkin. Do you know what it was?
I don't know.
It was a turnip. Yes, first they carved turnips, and then when they came to the United States, they started carving pumpkins because pumpkins were everywhere. So many pumpkins everywhere.
And where was the largest pumpkin?
The largest pumpkin was found in 2016 in Belgium, 2,000 pounds.
2,000 pounds.
Now, we're not cooking with those kind of pumpkins today. Today, we're going to be cooking with smaller pumpkins, and today we're going to be making wonderful mini pumpkin pies and apple cider pie bites.
Ooh.
And we're going to use a special tool that we love called a mini muffin pan. We'll tell you all about that. We're also going to have some fall questions today, questions and answers about cooking fall things. So stay tuned. We'll see you in a minute.
Farm Food and Fun with Farmer Larry and Miss Lynn. And Miss Lynn, what are we making today?
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to try it. You guys, this is a pie pumpkin. So when people ask you, how do you use pumpkins to make pie? This is it. The big one is really for decoration. It's not as tasty. And the little tiny ones, by the time you peel it, forget about it. So this is called a pie pumpkin. You can get it in almost any grocery store. It's always about this size. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut it and roast it in the oven. Today we're making mini pumpkin pies.
Sounds great.
I'm going to show you some easy ways to do it, and we're featuring one of my favorite tools in the kitchen. This is called a mini muffin pan, right?
Yeah.
Mini muffin pan. We use this constantly. In fact, we use it so much that we have 5 of them. Yes, we do. Because we make a lot of appetizers for our farm friends, or just small bite size. If you want to ever do a bite size appetizer or dessert, you can make anything in here. So we're going to teach you a little bit about this today. So today on our mini pumpkin pies, we're going to show you how to make a pumpkin pie that's super easy and super fun. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take 2 eggs and we're going to crack them right into our bowl. Now this pumpkin pie is a simple recipe that I promise you can all make. So don't tell me you can't, because I know you can. So we're going to crack our 2 eggs in the bowl. Farmer Larry, thank you very much. We're going to add our pumpkin puree. Now for some reason, if you just didn't want to roast your own pumpkin pie, it's okay to buy pumpkin puree because they have all been roasted. And most of the pumpkins, as we talked to you about, come from the Midwest, and they're fantastic. So we're going to use 29 ounces, which is a large can of pumpkin puree. We're going to just plop that in. Plop that in, yep, mix it all together. Sweetened condensed milk, you know it, right? This is tasty, tasty. It's sweet, obviously, condensed milk. We're gonna pour that in. We'll scrape our bowl because we don't wanna waste any of this yummy stuff. So there's only really 4 ingredients to this pie. It's super easy. and super wonderful. Remember, things can be very simple. You don't have to make them difficult when you're cooking. In fact, it should be easy. So easy, even a city girl like me can make it. All right, so we're gonna mix it all together, and then we're gonna make our special ingredient called pumpkin pie spice. I'm gonna teach you how to make pumpkin pie spice, and it's also very easy. I'm gonna set my pie shell off to the side. There's 5 things that you need for pumpkin pie spice. Now, I'm kind of a collector. Would you say I'm a collector?
Yes, you're a collector.
Yes, I'm a collector. So when I use the end of a jar, I'll keep it because I might want to put something else in it. So I have labeled this jar pumpkin pie spice, and I'm going to mix together. I'm going to show you how we're going to mix together our own pumpkin pie spice. First thing you need to do is 3 tablespoons of cinnamon. So we're going to take our cinnamon. I like to pour cinnamon into this bowl. You can measure it out for me if you want to. Into a smaller bowl. It's kind of hard sometimes to get out of the container when you're talking about tablespoons. Not that big one, but the next one, right? So let's use 3 of the single ones because that's the easiest way to do it. 3 purple ones, Farmer Larry. 3 tablespoons. 3 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3. So we have our cinnamon in. We're going to add ginger. Ginger is one of my favorite spices. We love it so much we get big jars of it. It smells fabulous. Oh my gosh. Oh, and we're growing our own. It's actually a root spice, and we're going to put 2 teaspoons, not tablespoons, 2 teaspoons. This is how we teach our kids. A tablespoon is bigger than a teaspoon because tables are bigger than tea, right? And so now we're going to do 2 teaspoons of nutmeg. Now, nutmeg actually comes from a nut. Makes sense, right? And we grind the nut up. It's a nut that's grown on a tree. So a lot of times you'll buy ground nutmeg, but you can also buy the fresh nuts, and that is really tasty. Put 2 teaspoons in of that. And then we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of allspice. Allspice is another, oh my gosh, wonderful. So we're going to do 1.5 teaspoons of allspice. And last but not least, cloves. Oh my gosh, cloves are another wonderful one. Now you'll notice that cloves look a lot different. As you can see, you're mixing all your spices together. You can see the different flavors, the different colors of the spice. So 1.5 teaspoons of cloves. And then we're gonna mix it all together, stir it all together. Do you see the cloves? Oh my gosh. If you could smell this, oh, it's delicious. So we're gonna just take our teaspoon and we're gonna mix this all together. Maybe 1 would be enough, right? We're gonna mix it all together, stir it all together. We're gonna go ahead and put 2 tablespoons in this mixture that we have. So 2 tablespoons of this. And then we're gonna put the rest of it back in our jar and save it because we're gonna wanna make more pumpkin pies for sure. So that's the spices, the secret spice ingredient. While Farmer Larry is mixing that up, I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do with our pie crust. So as we always teach our children and our parents, is we put a little flour on our board whenever we're working with the pie crust. This is a French rolling pin. It has 2 tapered edges, and you can use it just like any other rolling pin, but I love it because it fits my hands really well. We're gonna roll that out just a little bit. Then we're going to take our cutter, and I will tell you, you can use any size cookie cutter, but a 2-inch mason, half-pint mason jar works perfectly for a crust. So we're just going to turn it. We're going to take and turn it. I just put it right on top of that. And 1 crust, if you roll it out just a little bit, will make 24, which is enough to fill your entire mini muffin pan here. We're gonna take these, we just keep going all the way around. Remember, crust you can reuse. And so when you have all the leftovers, re-roll it out and try it again. If for some reason it's not perfect, don't worry because I'm going to show you what we're going to do when we get it in there. So first thing we want to do is we want to oil our pan, and then once our pan is oiled, we're going to just take 2 fingers and push down and make this crust just go right up to the lid of the mini muffin pan. So we're going to push it down just like this, all the way down. Then we're going to take a spoon and we're going to fill it with our pumpkin mixture. Remember, you could take a big crust and make a big pumpkin pie, but we love these because they're bite-sized, and you would be amazed how many you can eat at one time and still feel good about it, right? So we're going to fill it right up because, the eggs in here are going to puff up and make it really beautiful. So we'll fill those right up. We're going to pop them in the oven for 15 minutes at 350, and then they're going to be beautiful. So we'll come back in a second, let you know how it looks. So our mini muffin pans is ready, served us well. We've got our mini pumpkin pies right here, right?
That's right.
And how do we pop them out? Show me how to pop them out.
We just take a spoon, right along the edge and they'll pop right out.
Now be careful because this is a Silverstone pan or a pan that's non-stick, so you're going to be careful when you use metal with a non-stick pan, but if you're very gentle, you can really just get them right out. They're not so easy to do without a spoon, so make sure you do that. And then what we're going to do, we'll set our little pumpkin friend aside, is we are going to add some whipped cream, because what's pumpkin pie without whipped cream? Now I want you to know that fresh whipped cream is really easy to make. There's 2 or 3 tricks to making it. You take the liquid from whipped cream and you take your mixer and put the mixer in the refrigerator. The bowl needs to be super cold. The whipped cream needs to be super cold. And then when you're ready to pull it out, you pull it out of the freezer and the refrigerator, you pour your milk in, you turn it up to the highest speed you can without it flying all over the room. And then it whips up really fast. It takes 1 or 1.5 minutes. Go ahead and put sugar in. I like to use powdered sugar because I think it gives a softer taste than regular white refined sugar. You can put your sugar in. So with each cup, you need a 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, and it is delicious. Now what I've done is I've whipped it up and I've put it in just a regular Ziploc bag. We've cut the edge off. Just a little tip, so we're using this just like a pastry bag because you don't need all that fancy stuff if you don't want to. And we're gonna squeeze it out right on top. And I gotta tell you, this is the easiest, prettiest thing you can do. Super easy. So let's try it. Want one? I'll eat yours for you.
Please do. Having fun on the farm with food. Farm Food and Fun with Farmer Larry and Miss Lynn.
And today we're talking about mini muffins, and we have, this is apple season, apple cider. Now, not to be confused with hard cider, no, this is apple cider. It's unfiltered apples juice, and it's got lots of seasonings and wonderful things in it. So today we're gonna make mini apple cider bites, which are delicious.
Sounds yummy.
We're gonna roll them in butter and cinnamon sugar. Yum, yum. So let me tell you what we're gonna do. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put this apple cider, this is the secret to this ingredient, to this recipe. We're gonna put this apple cider on the stove, and we've already done this, and we're gonna reduce it down. Now what that means is, we start out with a cup and we're reducing it down to 1/2 cup. So it makes it, by reducing it, you're just steaming off some of the water, and it's gonna make it tart and strong and like a concentrate, kind of like a concentrate,
and
right?
much more flavorful,
And
right?
much more flavorful. So let's get a little spoon, and we're gonna stir this, and we're gonna take, so we start with a cup of apple cider, and it reduces down to 1/2 cup. So we're gonna take this and pour it into our measuring cup. The other thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get everything ready ahead of time. Because mise en place is what we call it, and it's really important because if you leave out an ingredient, it really makes a big difference. Trust me, I know. So the first thing we're gonna do, we get our apple cider ready. We're going to put together all our dry ingredients first together, and then we're going to put our wet ingredients, and then we're going to mix them together. The reason we do that is with dry ingredients, you want to make sure everything is mixed in really well. So the first thing we start with is a half a cup of flour. So here's our flour. Just use all-purpose flour. You don't have to use any kind of special flour. I have a favorite brand, but you use what you like as long as it's just regular white all-purpose flour. So we're going to take that 1/2 cup, and we're going to make sure we have it level. Whoa, a little bit more, yep. And we'll use our level, and we're going to put the powder in, and we're going to put the flour in there. Then we're going to take baking powder. Now, not to be confused with baking soda. Totally different thing. Baking powder, we're going to take this, and we're going to mix it in. We need 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder.
1.5 teaspoons.
Now, let me tell you something about baking powder. It can expire. It can expire, so you need to make sure it's fresh. If it's stuck together in your can, you've had it too long. So make sure it's fluffy and nice, because it will make a difference. It will not rise as well if you don't have that in. And that's why we're mixing our dry ingredients together. You want to keep stirring, keep stirring. We don't want all that baking powder just sit on one part of the flour. So we're going to mix that together. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do some cinnamon, because hey, what's fall without cinnamon? We're going to do 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. We'll mix that in. Yum, yum, yum. 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. Remember, this comes from a nut, and it's already been ground. So most of the time you'll find it in the store already ground, which we like too. But fresh nutmeg is good. So we're going to put a 1/4 teaspoon of that in. And even smaller, the tiniest spoon you have on your measuring spoon of cloves. So this is that wonderful apple, cinnamon, nutmeg, clove combination that's so good. So we're gonna take a 1/8 teaspoon. Actually, that's considered a pinch. So if you ever see a recipe that says a pinch, that's exactly 1/8 of a teaspoon. So just a very small amount of that. We're gonna stir that together. And we're gonna take a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now let's talk a little bit about salt, because salt is really, really something that you wanna try to keep down to a minimum in your diet if you can. There's many different types of salt. Sea salt or kosher salt is what we use in cooking. We don't use iodized salt anymore because you can get a lot of iodine in your body. Back in the old days, you needed iodine in your body, your food didn't give you enough. But nowadays, kosher salt, we cook with either sea salt or kosher salt. Kosher salt is just a thicker grain of salt, so you use that on meats and things like that. When you're baking, you want to use a smaller grain, sea salt, so we're going to use the sea salt.
And how much do we need,
And how
Miss
much
Lynn?
do we need? We need a 1/4 teaspoon.
Oh, a 1/4 teaspoon.
Yeah. So just a little bit of salt. Remember, salt in your diet, especially as you get older to a more interesting age, is not good for you. So you want to kind of limit that as much as you can. So this is just the minimal amount of salt. We're going to add that all together. We're going to set this aside and get another bowl because now we're going to put our wet ingredients in. We're going to use sour cream. You can use sour cream, you can use applesauce. Applesauce is a great substitute too for adding moisture, and kids love it. But we're gonna use sour cream. We're gonna put all our wet ingredients together. Sour cream is our first one. We need a 1/4 cup of sour cream. So we'll just put that in our bowl and start stirring. I love the way you're doing such a good job measuring, Farmer Larry. I know.
Thank you.
Yes. So we'll put that in, and then we're gonna talk about brown sugar. Now, there is, oh, he likes sour cream. Can you tell? So now we're going to talk about brown sugar. What is brown sugar and why do we always have to pack it into our measuring cups? Because brown sugar is simply white sugar with molasses in it. And the molasses is what turns it brown. And if you don't pack it, and we're going to need, let's see how much we need a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. If you don't pack it, there's a lot of air pockets and you won't get as much sugar as you need. So white sugar, as you know, sprinkles in and it fills in the air pockets, but that's why we always have to pack brown sugar when we measure it. So it's got that molasses in it. So I'll let you do that over the bowl maybe. So what he's going to do is he's going to push it in there, push it down into the measuring cup to make sure we have enough. Then he's going to level it off. So it has to be packed, otherwise you will not have enough sugar. So we're going to plop that in. Yep, you can see it always forms. If you did it right, it always forms into the same shape you put it in. And then we're going to add some vanilla. Let's talk for a minute about vanilla. Oh my gosh, there's all different types of vanilla. If you go to the store, you can buy 5 or 6 different types. There's vanilla extract, there's artificial, there's imitation. All the imitation means is it doesn't have alcohol in it. So when we cook with our children, we always cook with imitation vanilla. But today, we were lucky enough to get this fabulous vanilla from Haiti, from a relative of ours. It is fabulous. Vanilla is one of those things like cinnamon that smells really good, but when you taste it, it's a little different. So always mix it in with sugar. This is called Perrier vanilla. It's very hard to get unless you have relatives in Haiti. But you can buy other specialty vanillas at specialty stores. So we're going to use, this is a concentrate. I love vanilla. I love the taste of vanilla. Vanilla actually comes from a vanilla bean. And the way the vanilla is made is a vanilla bean with vodka. And what that does is it mixes together the vanilla bean actually translates its flavor into the vodka, and that's what makes vanilla. So a lot of the vanilla that you have that's imitation, that's not as strong, doesn't have that alcohol in it. All right, so you can make your own vanilla if you really want to.
And how much do we need, Miss Lynn?
All right, so we need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Now this is a concentrate, so if you really like vanilla, just put the teaspoon in. Otherwise, with concentrates, you can use half as much if you like. So we're gonna mix that in. These are our wet ingredients. We're gonna use our special mini muffin pan that we talked about earlier, and we're just gonna take a spoon and we'll mix this together. So here's our sugar, our oh my gosh, this smells fabulous. And we're going to take this mixture and we're going to add in our 1/2 cup of concentrated apple that we've mixed on the stove that we talked about. So it's going to have our liquid. Here's our liquid. And then we're going to take our dry ingredients. take our dry ingredients. So many times when you're making things from scratch, you'll put all your liquid ingredients in one, dry ingredients in another, and then mix them together. Because by doing that, they mix better. So all this liquid's mixing into one form. That's all mixing together, and now we're going to pour it in, and we're going to mix the two together, okay? That way, if I put my vanilla in that dry mixture, it just doesn't land in one spot. It actually mixes and really melds together really nice. So we're going to mix that together. That's going to make our dough. And in just a minute, we'll come right back to you, and we'll show you how we're going to put it in our pan. All right, so we've got it all mixed up. It makes a nice dough. We're going to just take a spoon, and we are going to just fill up this well-greased mini muffin pan with the dough. And it actually makes quite a few. It's going to puff up a little bit because of the baking powder. So we're going to just fill this up, each one.
And how long do we cook it for, Miss Lynn?
Oh my gosh, let's see. Well, that'll be in the recipe. So when they get that recipe, they'll have all the information. We're going to put it in the oven, and we'll show you how it comes out. Okay, we're back, and these have just come out of the oven. Oh my gosh, they smell so delicious. While they're warm, we're going to go ahead, we're going to melt some butter, and we've mixed sugar and cinnamon together. It'll be in your recipe, don't worry. We're going to mix it all together. We're going to just stir it in. This is great too, because you can, if you have extra of this, you can just put it in a bag and store it in your pantry or where your spices are, and use it for cinnamon toast, which is really delicious. So we're going to take one, we're going to dip it in the butter. This is great for kids, they love doing this, and dip it in the cinnamon sugar. Oh my gosh. Does this make you guys hungry? Is everybody hungry? Okay, so we're gonna put them out. Beautiful, wonderful, ready to eat. Bite-sized apple mini bites.
Yum.
Yum. So we're back. And we're back on the couch, and we're answering questions from our farm friends that have cooking questions. So Farmer Larry, what's the first question?
Well, Mary wrote in and said, what type of pumpkin do you use the best for pies?
Oh my gosh, that's kind of a difficult one. My personal favorite is called a Cushaw. C-U-S-H-A-W. You can't find them in the grocery store, but you can find them at farmers markets, and it's a green and white striped pumpkin. It has kind of a gourd body and a little neck, looks like a bird.
Yeah.
And it makes the best pumpkin pie in the world. I found out we'd never had those before where we lived before, but we moved here 13 years ago. A lady said, try a Cushaw. I said, what's a Cushaw? And she said, it's a pumpkin.
It's fabulous. And Sue wrote in, how do you decide which apple to use for what?
Well, with 7,500 varieties, that's a little tricky. So there's eating apples, there's cooking apples, and there's cider apples. So I haven't made cider in a while, but I do know that cooking apples, for pies, of course we like to use Granny Smith, but like Red Delicious and things like that are really good for eating. Honeycrisp are good for eating. You can Google that if you have something special, a recipe that you want to use, and figure out, because some apples will turn really mushy when they're cooked. You don't want to use those. So check it out.
And finally, this is a very hard question to answer. What's your favorite fall recipe?
Oh my gosh, I remember cooking with my mom years ago and making pecan pie. I'm from Georgia, so pecans, hey boo, pecans are from our state, and pecan pie is my favorite. My sister's recipe for pecan pie is to die for. What's your favorite one?
I don't know, I think it's my mother's recipe for apple pie. And it's apple season, so get out there and get some apples.
Hey, thank you for joining us today. We had a great time, fun time in the kitchen. We're covered with all kinds of things, and we hope to see you again soon. See ya.